Here we are. This recording, it's on, it's working. I'm excited to be here with my co-host and good friend Terry Combs from Equipment Zone. I'm Jay Bassell, and this is another episode, another issue, another session of Ask the DTG Expert. And as everyone who's watched to this point knows, that's that guy. Terry, how are you?
I'm great, Jay, and looking forward to talking yet again about all those little fine points that we hear at trade shows from customers, and talking about pre-treat machines today.
We are excited indeed. And I was at a trade show this past weekend, so I feel like in-person events are slowly and carefully starting to happen. And guess what I saw? I saw a lot of DTG printers. I saw a lot of pre-treaters. I saw lots of people that were getting excited about investing in their futures, especially for apparel decorators. So it was fun to be at an event again. And pre-treatment came up 2 times, and I made a note. I'm going to tell Terry, I can't believe this. I had somebody ask me about, was it really that important that the system is closed? So I said, you wait till Tuesday and you can ask the expert. I mean,
or Thursday.
Yeah, right. Well, I knew the answer, but I just wanted to kind of plug the show and throw some make sure that the wisdom and our knowledge base was being shared to all. So, well, let's dive right in. We've got lots to cover, and as you know, these are great questions. So I'm going to share my screen for just a second, make sure that everybody knows where we're coming from. If they haven't figured it out now, I don't know what to say, but we're grateful for the opportunity to be here with Equipment Zone and to have these types of sessions. And as you said, Terry, we're definitely going to talk about Terry, do I really need a pre-treatment machine? How many times do we hear this question?
Oh, all the time. What if I don't use it? That's the other question. but hey, Jay, you were just at a trade show, and depending on where you walked in the trade show, here's what you would have heard. If that particular company that sells DTG printers, whether it's the Epson or some other brand, does not carry a pre-treat machine, the answer is, well, you can get by with a Wagner power sprayer. If that particular company across the aisle that sells the exact same machine, no matter what it is, does sell a pre-treat machine that they earn commission on,
you might hear, good point.
You might hear, yes, you need this $5,200 state-of-the-art pre-treat machine with 4 nozzles and a light up screen and lights inside and lights on the outside and retro burner. Whatever that does with that.
I'm not familiar with the retro burner, Terry. You might have to bring me up to speed on that.
I just thought of it, and I think that's something we may have to put on our next machine. We did one time, by the way, at a trade show, put those LED lights under all the equipment, so when the lights were dim, they all looked like we're at a car show.
Yeah. That's true. Well, I can tell you, having just visited the Impressions Expo in Fort Worth, there were, as I said, there were several exhibitors who had pre-treatment machines, and it is an important part of the process. And I can't wait for you to explain a little bit more. But I'm also caught by, we're stuck in this desire for things to advance and innovation and things to get better and go faster or be easier. So there's this innovation side of us, but there's also this piece that's like, I just want it to work, right? I don't need the fanciness or the extra bells or the extra burners. We just want consistency. So I hope we talk about that, because as you know, a typical salesperson at a typical trade show is pretty much going to say whatever they need to try to sell you what they have.
Well, you're exactly right, Jay. And a few years ago, because Equipment Zone was an early innovator in pre-treat machines, and Jay, I go back to the US Screen T-Jet pre-treat machine that was in fact an enclosed box that if you stuck your head inside, literally had a Wagner power sprayer mounted inside of it with, and it was automatic, because the mechanism to move the platen in and out was a garage door opener. so the industry has moved quite a way since those days. But
it sounds like a step up from a science experiment that maybe you and Wade and Scott Fresner had kind of cooked up. But I'm not here to criticize it, because I think you were using the tools you had at the time to figure out how are we going to make this simpler? How are we going to make this easier? Or how can we automate this? So
yeah. And Jay, was a parallel path. The pre-treat was not always the greatest early on, just like the pre-treat machines, and they both advanced together to today, where there are very good pre-treat machines on the market, and the pre-treat it works very, very well for what we want to accomplish, and no special handling and no special paper to use with a pre-treat, with the actual pre-treat solution, things like that we kind of struggled with early on in the process, until everything kind of got smoothed out. And it got smoothed out by people out there in the industry using it, and testing and beta testing, and okay, well, let's try this, let's try that. And I think we're in a pretty good place right now with pre-treat and pre-treat machines.
Well, I think it's really interesting that even back then, in those early, I call them the pioneer trailblazing days, that you guys created a system where it was in a closed container. So think about that. What was the reason behind that? You knew that 16, 17 years ago.
Right.
And to this day, at the last event I was at, people were like, yeah, but do you really need that?
Exactly right. Well, we have to go back a step further backwards from there, Jay, and say, okay, well, what is pre-treat? Pre-treat is it's basically a saline solution with some binders in it that has the consistency of kind of watered down Elmer's glue. And what does pre-treat do? When white ink touches the pre-treat on the shirt, it starts to cure. Well, if that pre-treat is floating in the air, if it's atomized, and that's what it does when it sprays, it atomizes, and now it's floating in the air, and you may not even be able to see it, but when it touches ink, like on the ink on your print head, it's going to cure. And what's it going to do on your print head? It's going to cure on your print head and clog that print head. So you absolutely do need an enclosed pre-treat machine, or you need to pre-treat in a room away from your printer.
Gotcha.
But yeah, absolutely. And nothing has changed there. And no amount of somebody saying, well, just hold your hand up near it. You don't feel any pre-treat, do you? Well, no. But
well, and we have seen several photos from years back of people with the power sprayers, and they created kind of like a booth or a semi room, and it's just covered. It looks like it's covered in glue.
Right. And then everything in the air sticks to it, and so on and so on and so on, until you pretty much just have to sell that house and put something against that wall.
What happened in there?
I don't know what happened. Yeah. The floor, you're scraping on the floor.
Well, that gives us a lot of vision on open system versus closed system. So that means that there could be a scenario where you might be an open system, and a power sprayer is an open system. I mean,
correct,
right?
Correct.
So why don't we start there? I mean, why are people still using a power sprayer?
Well, I think two reasons, Jay. I think one is budget. I don't have $2 or $3 or $4 or $5,000 extra. I want to start this t-shirt business. I have X dollars to spend, and that dollar amount for that pre-treat machine, I just don't have. So I'm going to say to that person, then use a Wagner power sprayer, then use a pump action mist sprayer, depending on how much production you're going to do, but do it away from your printer. But I will tell you this, and point number two, by the way, is, well, on the internet, they say you don't really need one. Okay.
Well.
Yeah.
How often do we have those conversations, Gary?
Exactly.
Because we know everything on the internet, if it's there, it must be true.
It must be true. Exactly right. And so somebody created a Band-Aid somewhere. They didn't have the money for a pre-treat machine, so they figured out how to perfectly use a Wagner power sprayer, and so therefore you don't need to use that. And hey, will a Wagner power sprayer, will a pump action mist sprayer work? It will. Is it the most efficient way? It's not. It's messy. That you tend to put down too much pre-treat, because here's the deal: you're spraying by hand. If this much is good, this much more must be better. That's the mentality of a lot of people, and it's not. So you have a lot of waste. You have a lot of issues with the shiny look on the shirt from the pre-treat, from too much pre-treat. But hey, yes, it will work. It takes practice. I've had people, Jay, who many people will say, well, I'm going to hold off on the pre-treat machine, but I want to go and get started. I have enough money for the heat press. I've got enough
Right.
money for some shirts and enough money for my printer. And I'm like, okay. And you know what? Our techs will tell you exactly how to properly use that power sprayer or that pump action mist sprayer. But I've had people as few days as 5 after they got their equipment call me and say, hey, I did come up with that money. I'm not ever doing this again. It's messy. It's messy, and it takes practice and inconsistent.
It's hard to be. Yeah, I was going to say I've tried it. I personally have tried it, and it was so inconsistent for me. I was overspraying the top, and then I forgot, well, how fast am I going? And I panicked, and it was just inconsistent. And I felt like, okay, if you've ever done it, then you realize the advantage of a consistent speed treater type product.
And Jay, there's a real reason for that too. It's not just us saying, hey, every shirt's going to be exactly the same. This is the only decoration method that I can think of that the garment and the amount of pre-treat you put on that shirt impacts what the final print's going to look like. Yeah. If you're thicker on top and thinner on the bottom with your pre-treat, you will physically see it with your eyes that the print is brighter on top than it is on the bottom. So the whole point of an automatic pre-treat machine is for every shirt to be pre-treated exactly the same, which translates to every print looking exactly the same. And Jay, the family reunion that ordered today, the event's 3 weeks from now, and Uncle Jeff is Uncle Jeff M is coming to the event, and he's going to need a double X, and you want that print to look exactly the same. If you pre-treat it on your automatic pre-treat machine, that print's going to look exactly the same when you come back and do more shirts. Or you're selling into retail and you want fill-in orders to look consistently the same. An automatic pre-treat machine, for the most part, will do that. And what I say for the most part is you do need an automatic pre-treat machine that is going to give you a consistent laydown of pre-treat from shirt to shirt to shirt.
So I love that explanation. And one thing we didn't go too deep on, but I know that it is handy, and we have them in Arizona. We use them in Arizona. I'm pretty sure our tech team in New Jersey does too. Roy really does enjoy that pump mist sprayer. And I know the reason why, because although it still particleizes and atomizes, it seems to be a much more controllable spray. And so for indoors away from the printer, we're able to do small areas like the top of a hat or a small sleeve, small chest area without having to spray the whole shirt, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Is that something that you would still recommend?
Yeah, absolutely. And when we say pump mist sprayer, we're not talking about going to Ace Hardware and getting that pump sprayer that you use to spray, weeds with or whatever, or just detergents and things like that. We're talking about one that you pump to build up pressure, like the Febreze bottles that you can, refillable ones that you can buy, and you pump them and it sprays out just a mist. So if that's the method you choose to use, that's the best way to go. Just the pump spray bottle, that you buy for $1.29 is going to be very, very inconsistent. It's not going to help you. But when we do shoes, when we do hats, like you said, when we do odd products that we can still DTG on, it's a lot easier sometimes just to use a handheld device. And a power sprayer in that situation is probably gonna spray a lot of pre-treat here and there, and so you can control it a little bit better. But if I am printing t-shirts or sweatshirts or garments consistently all day long,
right,
it's not going to be very efficient to use either a Wagner power sprayer or a pump mist sprayer. You really need the consistency of a pre-treat machine. And Jay, you and I both been in this game for a long time, and for many, many years we all promoted the Wagner power sprayer. But I would say today that probably 90 to 95% of customers who come to us assume that they need to buy a pre-treat machine as well. It's a part of the package. The printer, the pre-treat machine, the automatic pre-treat machine, and a heat press. That is the 3-part package. And thank goodness that most people realize how important the pre-treating step is, and it's a part of what we need to purchase in the package. So and still not very, I mean, you're still in a full-time garment decorating business for in the neighborhood of excuse me, $20,000 if you're going with the F2100. And of course, we use the same pre-treat machine with the F3070. Jay, we have a customer in New York City, who has 8 printers, and they use one speed treater to pre-treat shirts for all 8 of those machines all day long.
I didn't know that. That's
I have to tell you, I met her at a trade show, the operator, and she literally started crying in the booth when she said, when they wheeled in this pre-treat machine, it changed my life. And I said, so like, first of all, you're not covered in glue anymore. And she goes, exactly. She goes, I would go home, and she was like Clark Griswold in Christmas Vacation when he got the tree sap on him. Everything stuck to him. She said that it just was life-changing, that she could load that, close it, press the button, pre-treat, take it out, load it, press the button, pre-treat, without the muss, the fuss, the cleanup. Yeah,
I bet it simplified her life in a big way too. And
she was pre-treating about 300 shirts a day.
Oh, wow. That's a significant amount, and doing them by hand. So you knew they were inconsistent. They probably had some waste. They probably had some, I mean, I'm just guessing. I don't know if she told you, but you can't be consistent. I mean, over 300 a day. I mean, even if you get into a routine and a rhythm, I would venture to say there were some shirts that if they were at the family reunion and you saw Uncle Jeff and everybody else lined up for that photo, you could probably see a few of them that were a little off, if you know what I mean.
Well, Jay, and the nature of the beast is you can't come to here on the shirt and stop spraying. You've got to spray past it and spray past it and spray past it. So all that spraying past is waste, and it's it's going on the board, it's going on the floor, it's going in the air, but more importantly, it's dollars out of your pocket for that overspray, whereas an automatic pre-treat machine should, for the most part, just pre-treat the printable area of the shirt and no further.
I was just going to ask you that, like, to what degree would there be waste? We flashed up the picture of the the speed treater TX that we have. At what level would there be any overspray, or does that go into the drawer? Or
there is we have a catch around the outside edge of the platen, but literally you can wipe it out with a wet towel at the end of the night, because our machine is set up so it sprays right to the edge and very little overspray. There are other machines on the market, Jay, that you are well aware of, that will have 1 or 2 gallon buckets hanging off the back of the machine. And they're there to catch liquid pre-treat running out of the machine and into those buckets. That's total waste. You can't pour that back in the machine, because any fuzz or lint, and anybody who's ever shook out a t-shirt knows there's fuzz and lint in the air. If it gets into that pre-treat and you pour it back into your machine, those nozzles are very, very, very small. So any fuzz or lint that's in that pre-treat is going to clog that nozzle. So that's just waste. That's just pre-treat that you're pouring down the drain. So it makes a difference when you're shopping for a pre-treat machine, how much overspray, how much waste is involved in using that machine.
Well, I noticed that there's a bucket to the back in the picture here, the little image on the back of the right side of this, where we have the side view. Terry, what is that? Is
that is actually the pre-treat that's going into the machine. And when we're done, and some people do this daily, but we recommend people do it once a week, is you flush all that pre-treat out of the machine. There's a button on the back that you push, and it's going to empty all the pre-treat back into the container. All that pre-treat's been protected inside your machine, so you're not going to have an issue with contamination. And so that's all going to go back into the container. Then you're going to flush out the machine with distilled water. And so there's actually no loss of pre-treat when you at the end of the week, when you go to flush out that machine. Or maybe you only pre-treat on Monday and Tuesday, or maybe you only pre-treat on Saturday. Same scenario. Once you're done, then you're going to flush it with distilled water. Absolutely zero loss pre-treat in that process, though.
Well, every time you explain something, it hits me with another question. So I'm like, okay, so that's cool. So you brought up the nozzles. So the Speed Treater TX has 1, correct? But I've seen others that have multiples. Like I saw one that had 4 and they were bragging about you could add more. And I'm like, what? Why is that an obviously
well,
we don't have it. So it must be.
correct. And we could certainly have done that, Jay. And their selling point is, well, you could spray nozzle 1A, and that'll be right here, left chest. And that's all you need to spray for a left chest print. That, well, I would be like, sure, I'm a decorator. I don't need to spray any more than that. But a couple of points. One is when you're doing a full chest, a full front of a garment, you have 4, 6, 8 nozzles. They have to overlap somewhere. And every place they overlap, you have extra pre-treat. So you could potentially see thick, thin areas in your image area. And the second point, Jay, is most people who are in a production setting, they don't know if that print's going to be a left chest or a full chest or where it's going to be. So what they'll do is they'll just pre-treat the front of the whole shirt. And as we've talked about in the past, I could pre-treat today and print tomorrow. I could pre-treat today and print a week from now, or print a month from now, or print 6 months from now.
Gotcha.
Exactly. So when you have downtime, the idea is have one of your employees there just pre-treating full fronts. And if it gets a left chest print, so be it. But if they're fully pre-treated and then you can store them, which is no problem whatsoever, then so again, a couple of issues with the multiple nozzle scenario is the biggest being the overlap of the spray. And of course, if it's a 6 nozzle machine, that's 6 nozzles you need to clean out every night, because that's what we do. Jay, and we sat down when Pretreat machines were getting more and more complicated. We didn't talk about this yet, right?
No, we haven't.
I guess you and I talked about it before the show. And I'm thinking, wait a minute. But we sat down and said, what does the customer want to accomplish? Because Jay, at this time, this is a few years ago, there was a Pretreat machine that hit the market at $7,000. And we're sitting around the conference table going, the customer just needs an even spray of Pretreat on a shirt, nothing more than that. Any other bell or whistle is just added cost or added risk of downtime.
Right.
And so that's where the SpeedTreater TX was born. It was even consistent print, the largest image area of the largest direct-to-garment printer on the market, and ease of operation, ease of cleaning. So at night, you open the door in the back, you reach in and unscrew by hand the nozzle, drop it in distilled water. The next day, screw it back in by hand. And then at the end of the week, again, there's 2 hoses out of the back. You take the in-feed hose out, press the button, it empties all the pre-treat back into the machine. Put those hoses in distilled water, hit the button again, flushes out the system, cleans out the system, and just leave that distilled water sitting in there until you're ready to use it again. So the whole concept of SpeedTreater TX was consistent, even pre-treating for, the first shirt, the 100 shirt, the 1000 shirt, exactly the same, and ease of operation for the operator. You shouldn't have to spend a lot of time cleaning up that auxiliary piece of equipment. Just, a minute or 2 at the end of the week, 20 seconds at the end of the day, and go on with your business without getting caught up in the minutia of a high-tech spray device, which in the end is
this
just
one has
pre-treat.
This one has a touch screen, so I can tell it which nozzle and where to print on Tuesdays, right? So
exactly right. Just total overkill.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think we are of the let's keep it simple. Can I say it?
You can say it, my friend.
Keep it simple, stupid, because there are people like me that need all the help we can get. So if Terry said it was 20 seconds each day, for me, it's probably going to be 2 or 3 minutes, because I'm going to forget what I'm supposed to do, or I'm going to forget, was it distilled water or is it vinegar? I don't know. Better check the manual. Quick, call Roy, or hurry over and watch another video, because I'm sure we do have, and I know we do have, a couple of videos that walk everybody through that process.
But Jay, the simpler we can make market also is once, if maybe it's just you right now, but maybe a year from now you have 10 employees. The
Agreed.
easier it is to have step 1, step 2, step 3 to clean that machine at the end of the night, the better things are going to run. Jay, you and I are both old time production guys,
That's right.
so get rid of all the roadblocks. Nothing that's going to trip you up. So the Speed Treater TX is that machine there are no roadblocks.
Keep it simple, no roadblocks. And we're looking for a recipe that's duplicatable, that anyone in a matter of a half an hour could literally come in and have success with it.
Exactly.
So, well, kudos to you. Terry, it's so cool to hear some of these parts and pieces, and you remind me of things I've either forgotten or even share things I didn't know. And so that's part of the reason I love this Ask the DTG Expert, because you were there in the beginning, and I'm not saying that there's no negative side. It's called experience. It's called, vision. It's called, there's a purpose behind this. And I love how you explained it today. And so it just, great job to you and the team at Equipment Zone for being able to kind of lay this all out there. And if there's a way to make it better, of course, we're interested in that, right? I mean, we're still in pursuit of, can we do better? Can we make it simpler? Can we make it faster? Right? But within reason.
Right. Our R&D never stops. We're always trying and testing new things, whether it be equipment, inks, pre-treats, software. Yep. So it's always a work in process. But I think we're in a very, very good place right now with DTG decorating.
Well, it sure seems like it. There was a lot of buzz about it at the show. People are really ready to figure this out. If you don't have an e-commerce solution, I would strongly recommend that. And this is a piece of the puzzle that helps you get there. And I love that you reminded people that they can pre-treat shirts ahead of time, so that, there's no downtime. And, or if they were at an event, you just wrote an article about, on-site live events are coming back. And we both had this discussion before. So this allows us to prepare for that, not have to take the pre-treater to the party, have the shirts already done. But let's talk about that for just a second, if you don't mind, because I know it's going to come up and someone probably already said something in the chat. So what about these apparel brands that are now having garments that are all written? By the way, I am wearing one of my favorites. Can you see this, Terry? I forgot to share this at the beginning, but
let's see here.
Well, I am wearing one of my favorite t-shirts.
It looks like you've taken your t-shirt to the next level.
Oh, so this is a Next Level branded shirt. And yes, it is one of my favorite t-shirts. But the point is, there are apparel companies now that see the advantage of having pre-treated shirts. So how does that affect this?
Well, Jay, and pre-treated shirts have been kind of coming in and out of vogue for probably 6 or 7 years. The early ones didn't work very well. The current ones are pretty darn good. Our friends at RTP Apparel, friends at Sanmar, they print very well. Some better than others, especially when you get involved in tri-blends, things like that. Some colors of tri-blends are print a little better than other colors. And, we've had to go in and do a little extra pre-treating on a couple of colors of tri-blends, which certainly defeats the purpose. But I think there will be more and more products that will be available. But here's the other side of that coin. The minute you say, all I'm ever going to do are the pre-treated shirts, your very next customer is going to walk into your shop and say, well, I need Texas orange. And you say, okay, well, I have orange. And if they don't spit on you, they'll probably say that is not Texas orange.
That is, and they're always so specific. That's not Tennessee orange, or that's not Columbia blue, or that's not North Carolina blue, or they have
exactly. And they're very, very specific. And so the chances, unless you have a line that you sell on your website that has 10 colors of garments and 2 styles, yes, you can use those, but you will need the ability to pre-treat shirts, because even if that's with a Wagner sprayer or a hand pump mist sprayer, you're going to have situations where you're going to need to pre-treat shirts, or you decide you want to do hats, or you decide you want to do shoes. Those products will likely never be available pre-treated. It's just
tote bags. I was thinking about tote bags and so many other products, baby onesies, things that they're just, niched markets, which you and I are both the fan of. So
exactly.
Well, that's good to know. So technology keeps moving. People are still trying to figure out, how to make this process more profitable. And I think at the end of the day, that's definitely one of the things I appreciate most about Equipment Zone is we're not bloating the system just to sell you something that's got, new bells, new burners, new glowing lights, screens. It's like, let's keep it simple, let's make it effective, and let's keep it consistent. Those are the things I heard you say, Terry.
Exactly right, and onward and upward with everything we do, and we are always trying to make life easier and more profitable and better for all of our customers and all of our friends out there in the industry who aren't necessarily customers, but have the DTG bug, Jay.
Well, and we just want to share the correct information. Clearly, we're always straddling this line of, neither of us want to come across as overly salesy, trying to push people into a product, but we are proud of this product and it is super effective. So we're going to stand behind it, and we have a great tech team both in Arizona and in New Jersey. And let's end on that, Terry. We make these. These are ours. We are the maker, and I don't know if there's a difference between a maker and a manufacturer, but we build them. How about that?
We build them. They were designed in-house at Equipment Zone and tested and tested and tested and tested. And yeah, so we're pretty proud of the fact that our crew right there at corporate offices there in New Jersey, the downstairs part of that building, they're down there building these speed treaters as we speak. And Jay, one other note on these is you don't have to have an Epson F2000, F2100, F3070 to use this pre-treat machine. It works with other machines and other pre-treat products. We certainly sell other pre-treat products. So
great point. Yeah, I'd forgotten about that there are other solutions and there are other printers. Sometimes I don't even think other printers exist, but they do. So that was a good point.
There are plenty of brother users and a variety of other manufacturers of machines that use our pre-treat machine.
Love that. Well, listen, we want to make sure we're wrapping this up. And if you haven't already joined our Epson F2100 DTG user group, or we now have an Epson F3070 DTG user group, whichever printer you have or both, we'd love to have you join our group. You just basically fill out a request to join, and myself or Roy, pretty much it is designed to be for folks here in the US. We let a few Canadians and a few Australians sneak in every now and then because it just adds a little life to the party. But we're not anti others. We just have to try to keep this something manageable where we all speak the same language and we are owners. There's no selling involved here. This is really a great group for support, for cheerleading, for, hey, have you ever seen this? Or getting some tips and some advice on the weekends when they can't get a hold of us. So a lot of folks
or really, where can I find this in extra small?
And believe me, there's a lot of that going on right now. Who's got this in black? Obviously our key contact info. So reach out to us. If you aren't following us on YouTube, we have lots of great training and marketing and support videos there, but you can call us, you can text us, you can email Terry or Jeff or Amy. And Terry, that's all I've got for today, unless you have anything else that you wanted to bring up.
No, I think we covered it pretty well and fully, and looking forward to doing this yet again.
Well, and if you have any other questions about the Speed Treater TX, you can obviously visit our website, which was flashed up there on the key contact info. So visit us at equipmentzone.com. And until then, we will have another Ask the DTG Expert series continuing to march forward with another video soon. Thanks, Terry.
Thanks. Bye, everybody.